Hey, Dan. So this is Sunday, July the 21st, and this is our Square Lake 5K USMS, so U.S. Masters Swimming Championship Open Water 5K. Lots of people from all over the country, a lot of Californians. I met a couple from Nicaragua who live in Port St. Lucie, which is where my brother lives. But here's a little bit of all of us finishing. So it was me. This is Lucas, who's got the bruised ribs. He's running it out. And this is how he felt about those bruised ribs right here. I think it's a perfect picture of Lucas and captures the day. Then Kay finished. And then after Kay came Scott.
All right, Scott.
Scott is one of the other guys that swam the Nishonik race with me. Scott's there in the front.
Run it in!
Waving his hands. And I'm yelling at all of them to run it in, which they, of course, hate. And then here comes Lisa. I recognize her swim stroke, so I could actually got some video of her coming in. And while we're waiting for her to come in, the water was perfect. It was about 78, 79 degrees. It was cloudy.
All right, Ramsey,
there was hardly any wind. It was just really nice. Lisa, in case you're curious, is the one on the left. Just really pleasant. If it weren't for the fact that we had to swim for over an hour, up to 2 hours, it would have been just a great day. So Lucas and I left at 4 in the morning. So I was up at 3:30. It's a little over 2 hour drive. There's Glenn coming in the front.
All right, Glenn!
And had a 7:30 race start. I was in the first wave. Lucas was in the second wave. Scott was in the third wave. Kay was in the fourth wave. And Glenn and Lisa were in the fifth wave. And Glenn looked good. I think we all enjoyed it. So we just have to swim 2 more miles beyond what we swam today when we get to the American Virgin Islands. So, all in all, it was a good race. So before I talk about the results, I want to talk about how I did, and a quick breakdown of my race. So I used Todd's Garmin, and it worked really, really well. So the one thing I like about it is it sets, and I don't know if Todd programmed this or if it's just how the watch is, but with open water, it sets 500 yards markers on your map. So that you can, not only obviously with the map, you can see how you swam, but with those 500-yard markers, it gives you a time for each of those 500 yards with a 100-yard average time. So your 100-yard pacing, which is often how we talk about our pacing. When we're talking about open water, we often refer to our 100-yard pace, and that's our point of reference for what our performance was. So you can see my route on the map. It was pretty straight, a couple of bobbles, but not bad. My overall yardage swam was 5,603 yards. 5K is 5,468. So I swam an extra 135 yards, I guess. So not bad. And then my total time was 1:19:57. So the great thing about this Garmin, as I said, is now it'll show me the demarcation of each of my 500 yards. For the Nishonik race, that race I was so disappointed in, I ended up swimming about a 1:28 100s total. But I also felt like I swam quite a bit off course, but of course I have no way of knowing whether I did or not because I wasn't wearing the Garmin at that time. So here is the map of each of those 500s. And there's, as I said, I swam 5,603 yards. And so as you would expect, there's 11 data points on this. So every time I click on one of those in the Garmin app, I can see what my total time was for that 500 yards, as well as, then of course it just calculates my 100 pace. So for that first that first 500 yards, I mean, there were tons of people, but what that meant was I was swimming like behind this phalanx of swimmers who, if you draft, you can swim up to 5 to 10% faster or 5 to 10% less energy used if you're drafting. So you could potentially swim faster by getting behind somebody who's a little bit faster than you. But I was behind a whole bunch of people that did two things for me. One is it allowed me to swim faster, and also it allowed me to swim straighter because I didn't have to sight on the buoys. I just kept that phalanx of people right in front of me. So that worked great. So you can see my time was 123. So I was pretty happy with that. My second one here, the second 500 is 125. Then third is 126. The fourth is 125. The fifth is 126. Now the sixth is odd because I'm trying to think, as I'm coming around the course, because, the course started out, it's like a big rectangle. And so you from the starting point, you went around that first turn buoy and then you kind of hung a slight left. And so when you're coming back down the side of that rectangle, you end up turning left and then going over to that first turn buoy again. So from that little spot, between 5 and 6, I did it in 122. I don't know what the hell was going on. I do remember thinking I was trying to catch up because I was starting to lose touch with that phalanx of swimmers that was in front of me. And I did end up losing touch with them. So after that 122, back to 125, 126 on 8. And then 9 was 130. And this was the point of the race where I was just so tired and I felt like I just wanted to stop swimming hard. I wanted to rest. And this always happens in these races, these long races. You just have to stay focused, keep your pace up, and keep going. So I was able to drop back down to 126s, which is great. And then I finished the race. So pretty happy with my overall time of 119.57. So when they started doing the results, they did the overall winners, the top 3 men and women. And they came in at like 10, I think the overall man won at 107.58 or 59. The second place guy finished at 108.01 and the third place guy 108.02. So, about 12 minutes faster than I was. And they were really swimming. There's always these former D1 swimmers who've been swimming, ever since college, and they've never lost their form. They're not as fast as they were in college, but they're still really fast. So then they did the results by age group. So Scott actually got called first. He finished 5th in his age group, and they were calling the top 6 got medals. So Scott took 5th. He was the 60 to 64, I think. 60 to 64 thing. And then they got to my age group, the 55 to 59. And I thought maybe I would get a medal. Maybe I'd finish top 6. So the 4th place guy was a guy named Brian Soltis, who for years I have finished just behind him or right around him in races, like at Bayfield. And so I thought, crap, if Brian finished 4th, I didn't get a medal. And inexplicably, I finished 2nd in my age group. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, but at least I'm a bridesmaid. That's something. And as it turns out, the first place guy in my age group, he's 57, I think, was third overall at the 108.02 time. And it's just, it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter how much time I commit, I'm never going to be that fast. So yeah, I guess I'll be happy with second. And so overall, it was a good day. It was a good race. And having this be the championship, having quality swimmers there, gives me a sense of, okay, where am I relative to these guys? And with that data from the Garmin, I think that's really going to help in the future. It's interesting because at the Nishanik race, that one that I swam over in Wisconsin here about a month ago, I finished first in my age group. But honestly, it was just like, I wasn't even happy. It was like I was super disappointed. Like, well, where are the fast swimmers? Why aren't the fast swimmers here? If I'm finishing first, that means there's no fast swimmers. And so I wasn't happy about that. Anyway, I guess that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.